There are 5 talks on this topic that I would like to share with you. This is actually a sastra by Master Zhongmi. And there are 2 reference books you can check out. One is the translation. One is actually the Ph.D. Dissertation by Professor Peter Gregory at Harvard. He chose this topic for this reason. First, this represents a systematic analysis of very important Buddhist teachings in Chinese traditions. And also, this sastra illustrates one of the most important genres of Chinese Buddhist dogmatic, which is Panjiao, okay, the doctrine classification. And then also it reflects the thoughts of the Huayan school and Chan school. So it's very important combination for that. And then lastly, this sastra engage with Confucianism and Taoism, which are also very popular in China. So Professor Gregory chose this sastra as his study, and the translation is very, very good, and you can check it out. And also our late master, Sun Yan, wrote the book about this on this sastra as well. It's called Huayan Xinquan. In this book, Shifu said that this is an Buddhist introductory essay providing the big picture of Buddhism and a large infrastructure based on Huayan dogmatics. And it blended in with different philosophical, religious, and Buddhist tradition into an unique theory. And lastly, it inherits the fundamental rationale of awakening of the faith in the Mahayana, which is a very important sastra for Mahayana study as well. So based on this reason, I would like to share with you some of the key points that Master Zhongmi mentioned, and how he established Buddha's teachings in a systematical way. And in the beginning, I would like to briefly introduce Master Zhongmi. He is the 5th patriarch of Huayan school in Tang Dynasty, and he is deeply affected by both Chan school and Huayan school. So he personally is very high practitioner in samadhi. So he deeply interested in bringing together both the practical, the samadhi meditation practice with the doctrinal aspect of the Buddhism. So he is very famous on this part. He tried very hard to bring the practice and the doctrine together. And as if you heard my last talk about the essentials of the samatha and vipassana by Master Zhi Yi is the 3rd patriarch of Tiantai school. He is also very famous on the Tiantai doctrinal classification. And both this master, one in Tiantai, one in Huayan, tried philosophical thinking from one Lotus Sutra, the other is Huayan Sutra, and try to help all the Buddhists to see how Buddhas establish his teaching. And so from a beginner's ordinary people to the Buddhahood. So Master Zhongmi has very many publications. Some of the famous one is just like this is inquiry into the origin of humanity. And also the other very famous one is the Prolegomena to the collection of expression of the Zen sources. And unfortunately, this collections, 100 scores are lost. And so there is only the Prolegomenans are here for us to study. And it's also very important. And the other one, commentary on the awakening of the faith in the Mahayana, and the commentary on the Sutra of Perfect Enlightenment. And this sutra I like a lot. And Master Zhongmi has very high affinity with this sutra as well. So based on these writings, you will know that Zhongmi has very broad backgrounds on the different, especially the Zen Chan tradition and also the Mahayana Sutra. So he tried very hard to establish a system for people to study. And just so you know that in Huayan school, the third patriarch, Fa Zhang, he established a classification as you will see the PowerPoint on your left, and Zhongmi's classification is on your right. And so they are a little bit different, but the sequential stages are similar. And there is a reason that Zhongmi established in this way, because Zhongmi is very famous. He is a very famous scholar on Confucianism before he studied Buddhism. And then he found out that in China, because the indigenous religious and philosophical thinkings are basically Confucianism and Taoism. And so Master Zhongmi tried to engage in Taoism and the Confucianism with Buddhism, so that the Chinese people can accept Buddhism much better. And so he established the first teaching as the teaching to human and heavenly beings, and then following the 4 stages for class. And so also in the other book, very important book, Prolegomena to the collections of the Zen sources, he established the sequential stages for Chan practice. So this is on your left is more practice, on your right is more doctrinal teachings. And they have the similar goal in the middle, that the first is try to see the rebirth in the higher realm and avoidance of rebirth in the lower realm that ordinary people would prefer. And then if you start to practice Buddhism and you start to know something, and then you realize that the emptiness of the self. And next step is to realize both the emptiness of self and emptiness of all things, Dharma. And then lastly, to see the pure Buddha nature that every sentient beings originate endowed with. So this table is just trying to share with you that how Zhongmi tried very hard to connect Chan practice with doctrinal teachings, and they established at the same level, so that when we use one method, like at a certain level, we know that which kind of teaching or sutra can help us to understand better and to achieve the goal. And so I choose 5 topics to try to explain Zhongmi's rationale for this from this Sutra, and the one goal that connect all the classes are finding the answer for the origin of life. I think this is a fundamental and basic question for all human beings, that one day, sooner or later, we will ask this question for ourselves, you know, where was I from and what would I be after I die? And then in the current life, so we come from the past and we will go to the future. And right now, in this present life, why I am who I am and who or what decided it. Okay, so many of us, especially when we encounter difficulties or trauma in this life, and sometimes we will wonder, you know, why these things happen like this, why things will not happen the way I want it to be. And no matter how hard I try it, and it seems like I cannot change my fate. Okay, so that's the basic questions that we might have. And so the question, why this world exists like it is now? And from different religions and philosophical schools, and people try to answer these questions. You know, one answer is like, okay, everything exists by nature, you know, just naturally this way. You have no control. The nature control it. And then, or some religions or faiths think that, you know, the Brahman or the God creates it. So I was born as who I am and how I am, because there's a mission for me. So, you know, and then some belief system thinks that there are unseen deity make it how it is. So there are so many rituals that pray for the deity. Think that, okay, you know, we have dryness, we have flood, you know, the wind and everything is because of deities make it happen. So we pray and you know, perform some ritual to pray to the deity, please stop the wind, stop the flood, and all that. And for scientists, okay, scientists think that, you know, this world is basically physical and chemical reactions. If you study evolution theory, you will know that, you know, how this universe started, and then, you know, how the molecules started, and how the single cells started, and how then gradually how the human developed. Okay, and so lastly, there are some religions, especially Vedic traditions in India. People think that, you know, it is because karma. So we are born by the karma, and our fate is decided by the karma. Okay, so Buddhism is inherit from the Vedic traditions. So we also take the concept of karma or karman. Okay, but there is a major difference between the Vedic karma and the Buddhist karma. Okay, so let's check out what the karma means. In the Vedic traditions, back to 1000 to 800 BC, the concept of karma was defined by rituals that encouraged people to commit the good deeds to ensure the entrance to heaven, or otherwise you will go to the underworld. So it's better that you behave correctly, behave well. And then it's karma is the law of cause and effect. This sounds familiar as well in Buddhism. And karma is action, whether physical or mental, individual or performed by the group, and each action has a consequence. So you might heard of the name called individual karma and or common or group karma. Like this pandemic, it's a group karma for all of us in this world. But some people die and some people survive. That's individual karma. In this world, you will see things happen. Some has the major impact for the majority of people, and some has very specific influence on the individual. So that's different. And karma also related to fate. So it's, the certain consequence of act done in the former life that will decide how you receive the retribution in this life. That's called fate. So in the Vedic traditions, if you believe in karma, it could lead you to believe in your fate. Okay, so the definition in short, that it's ethical or non-ethical, encourage people to do good things and avoid wrongdoings. And also it tells people that good action has good consequence and bad action has bad consequence, and it will affect your rebirth. Okay, so in conclude, karma tells us that what goes around comes around. So it's an equation: good deeds, reward; bad deeds, punished. And good deeds, good result, and bad deeds, bad result. Sounds very fair. But if we reflect in our daily life, is it what it happened always? That you think you are a good person, you never done anything bad in your life, in this life, but bad things happen to you all the time. And no matter how hard you try it, it's just your fate, my fate, our fate. It's called fatalism. So it's predetermined because the karma that has been done in the past is already fixed. I cannot change it. So I have to receive it. And so I have done wrong in the past life. So I have bad life in this life. You cannot do anything about it. No choices to do anything. And this is not what Buddhisms believe. Okay, so we believe the karma has two aspects. We call karmic potency. It has karmic causes that is from the past, and there is a karmic conditions that happened in the present moment. Okay, and for example, good cause and good conditions, and you have good consequences. You help that people in your previous life, and right now you met that person and he is your boss, and so he treats you very good. he likes you because you helped him before. And so the good consequence is that you got promoted all the time. You got picked all the time for the lucky one. And likewise, if you have a bad cause in the past, and right now it's a bad condition, okay, you treat that person very bad before. And right now, you are colleague to compete the promotion, the chance to promote. And then so because this competing, and then so he cheat on you, she mistreat you, or she set you up, he or she set you up so that he can get the promotions. And the consequence is not just that you cannot get the promotion, but also that you have even worse relationship with that person. So that's a very direct explanation for the causes and conditions and consequences. But how about a good cause with bad conditions? And what would be the consequence? You treat that person well, but you both are the colleagues to compete the same promotion. What would happen? Or you have a bad relationship with that person, and right now you are a couple, a married couple, supposed to love each other, right? And what happened? And the worst scenario is bad cause and bad condition. And were that the consequences always bad? And let's see what the theory for the causes and consequence in Buddhism. So sorry, because it's too crowded, so I just write Chinese. It's much simpler. So basically, each equation is cause to consequence, cause to consequence. So there is one cause and has his consequence, and this consequence become another cause for another consequence. So it's so on and so forth. And also there are other cause brings other consequence, and so on and so forth. And in the present life, what at a certain moment, it's multiple layers of causes and conditions meet together. And what would that happen? And so we believe multiple layers of causes and conditions and consequence, multiple layers of causes and consequence. And also the causes and effects simultaneously co-arise. So at the present moment, when one thing happened, it's really hard to unknot, what is the main causes and what is the effect. Okay, and it's hard to, for example, this pandemic. We see the consequence of pandemic, and we are suffering. The virus take many people's life. And what is the causes? You can blame, it's because, Chinese people in Wuhan, they started it. Or you can blame, maybe it's, some other things, those people who eat wild animals make it happen. The bat, the virus carried by the bat. Okay. And from Buddhist point of view, it's not that simple, especially for the group karma, for the common karma, especially for the whole people on earth. And this causes is hard for us to explain, to find out. It's really complicated. And so, but the causes has been planted in the past, and we are receiving the consequences, which is bad. But Buddhist doesn't think that way, okay? Even though we believe that at the current moment, at the present moment, any phenomena has many causes and many consequences come together, and also the causes and effect co-arise, and there are chances for us to make change, and that's the conditions. And these conditions is for we can make the conditions to be good or bad. Okay, so for example, this pandemic, bad causes, and seems like bad conditions, consequences. But if you are the one try to make good conditions, you always be kindness to all the people around you. You always try to help people out of suffering, and you donate masks, you donate PPE. You are happy all the time. And the consequence is that you are happy, even though you are facing the life threat. And even though you lost your loved ones, you still have the compassionate minds with people. And that's the same thing like Shifu always told us, we can get sick. The body is in pain, but our mind is not suffering. So the way you are in pain and you are suffering is one kind of consequence. And you are in pain, but you are not suffered is another consequence. Okay. And also, for example, you are born in a poor family. That means you might not have a good karma in the past, so you didn't born into a wealthy family. You always struggle for food and your place to stay. You cannot receive good education, and you cannot find a good job. But as you can see in the history, there are many famous, well-known and influential people. They are born in a poor family. Even in a poor family, poor situation, they try very hard, they study hard, they never give up. And then they become a famous person. For example, maybe the president of the country, maybe people like Gandhi, right? And because their struggle in the youth age, they know how people suffer. And it become a good conditions for them to know how to help people. And they become a good president and become a good religious leaders, like our master, poor family, become a very good business people, make money and help people. And so being poor, you can think that being poor is a good, bad cause. But for Buddhists, it could be a good cause for us to become an even better man and to become a good person to help a lot of more people. So what's the key point is the conditions in between, that how we take the conditions and how we make the conditions happen so that the cause become a good consequence. You get a good consequence out of that cause. Okay, so That's a very important practice for all the Buddhists. We are not fatalism. The karma, the deeds has been committed in the past life, but the consequence is good or bad is on us. Okay, it's not on the karma. Okay, and another things that we need to answer for all of religions is first, the religions need to answer why we are who we are right now. The second is how people rebirth. You know, how anyone you know, transmigrate from past to the present to the future. Okay, and in Buddhism we call it reincarnation or samsara. And the way for samsara, basically it's explained the cyclic circuitous change of every being, and also it's continuously that way. And so for Vedic traditions, as you know, that in India there is a caste system. So people will think that, okay, if you are in a lower caste, no matter how hard you try, you will always be born in a lower caste. And if you are a noble level or Brahmin, you will always, no matter how bad you are, you die and rebirth as Brahmin. And that's not true for Buddhism. And we think that the rebirth is decided by 4 kinds of factors. If you are advanced practitioners, means you have a mind power, you can rebirth by the vows. For example, you vow to go to the Western Pure Land. You vow to go to heaven. You vow to come to earth again to help more people. You can rebirth by your vows or by your will. Okay, if you know the story of the Dalai Lama lineage, the Dalai Lama will always write down which family he will be born in the next life, and then the Lama will look for the new Lama, Dalai Lama, life after life. So they have the power to choose which family to go to and which parents to be reborn with, and this is by will. But for ordinary people, we were decided by so-called habitual karma or heavy karma. So if you commit a very bad deeds or very wrongdoings, you will, or very good deeds, and then you immediately go to your next life. But for us, as you know, that in the Bardo state, we have 49 days to choose or to wait for the conditions to ripe and know where to go. Okay, so at this time, the habitual karma will dominate our fate to the next life. And so when we are born again, we call it karmic retribution. And this has, that means we have a body and we have a receptacle world. So we are in a world, we have a body, and we perceive this world. And that's called karmic retribution. And among that, we have a directing karma that will lead us to certain realms. And we have fulfilling karma that decided that our life is good, is fulfilled or not fulfilled. Okay, so for example, the directing karma, for example, you keep the 5 precepts, then you have a directing karma to become a human again. And if you easily get angry and you fight, you like to fight all the time, you are easy to be reborn as an ashura, and vice versa. That in the 6th realm, for ordinary people, we just cyclically rebirth in this 6th realm. So it's not like you are human this life and you will always be the human, and you were the human in the past life. It is not necessary that way. And it decided that's by which karma is ripened at the moment you rebirth. Okay, so in this first level of teachings that Zongmi classified is that there is a teaching, the teaching that is helping all the beings in the 3 realms and 9 grounds. And we are in the desire realm, and one of the human. Okay, so there are 6 realms in the desire realm. And then there are some heavenly beings that achieve the 1st dhyana to 4th dhyana, or to the beings in the formless realm, that they are at the states of infinite space, infinite consciousness, infinite nothingness, or non-perception, or neither non-perceptions. All these 9 grounds are the focus for the teaching. The teaching is to help us, how to get better. Okay, so this teaching is basically tells us that the mechanism of karma and cyclic rebirth. And there are a lot of contents here, and I believe that some of you know this for a long time. But here, the ignorance, the 12 things of dependent origination is a very fundamental and core teachings in Buddhism. And so the karma is is the ignorance come from our karma. And once we are not enlightened, we are ignorant because the karma. And then it will get us to volitional formations and the consciousness. And the consciousness will decide, which the karma decided which body or which realm to go to. And so the consciousness enter into that realm and then formulate name and form and 6 entrance. Pretty much you get your body. And then after we out of the body, we have contact, feeling, craving, and grasping. So when we get in contact with the environment, which is also our retribution. Okay. For example, I have a good body. I'm tall and I'm good looking. I'm healthy. This is a very good karma. You have a good body. And then unfortunately, you are born, for example, in Africa, and then in a poor family or in Africa, you have no good clothes to wear on, even though you have good shape of body, you still wear, it looks lousy. And then you don't have makeup, and nobody will enjoy and think you are good looking. And so because the environment you were born to is not that great, and so when you contact all this environment, and you always has, you know, not a good feeling, and then you will crave for more material supplies, and then you might, you know, grasping like your body, speech, and thought will always think that how can I, you know, get rich? How can I need more material things, and then they become a karma, the becoming, and that karma will go to your ignorance again. So, and then you have another rebirth and aging and death. And so if you are a person that born in a bad environment due to the past karma, and then you cannot help yourself to avoid the karmic potency, to always chasing for money and material world things, then that become another, you strengthen your karma. And the next life, you still maybe have the same fate. And then you never, you may become a very stingy person, or you want to fight all the time. And then you might go to Ashura in the next life. But if you are born, just like I say, if you're born in a poor family, but you take people's suffering as in your heart, and in this lousy environment, you always try to help people, and you try to help people to have a better life, and you might become more, for example, a good scientist to inventing something for people to improve their environment, or you become a good politician, that you try to set up a rule in this country to help the poor people or establish the country in a better way. Then you become, you know, a good president of that country, and then the karma, the becoming of the karma, become a virtuous seed that still go to your next karma, even though it's still in the ignorance state because we are not enlightened. But that seed will, you know, change another cycle of your life. That's the mechanism between karma and the rebirth. That the first level of the teaching. So in conclude, that the first level of the teachings is the Zongmi try to classify is for those that are in the 3 realms and 9 grounds, and tells us that how this work, you know, why we are who we are, and how we transmigrate between lives. And that's called karma dependent origination. Okay, so basically the roots are greed, hatred, and ignorance, the three poisons. And if we follow the 3 poisons, then our karmic forces is for body, speech, and mind will push us to commit some unwholesome deeds, and the retribution will be suffering. And on the other hand, if we have roots that no greed, no hatred, no ignorance, and then the karmic forces is for the body, speech, and mind will, you know, drive us for more wholesome deeds, and the consequence is more peaceful and more happy life, and people like you, and that's the mechanism for teaching of humans and heavenly beings. And so at this point, karma constitutes the origin of bodily existence. That means, what is the origin of life? Karma. Okay. But then, and the roots is the status for the human and heavenly beings is that we still have greed, hatred, and ignorance. And so that's why we have karma, and we will receive its consequences. That's the first level of teaching that only classified from the Buddhist teaching. And is that really the origin of life? If that's true, okay, so the question is, who generate karma? Who receive the retribution? Okay, see, I have this body right now, and I'm living in the US right now. The problem is my past life, maybe I'm a dog in China. Okay, maybe. Okay. Or I'm a woman right now. So maybe my past life is a man in Egypt. Okay. If you have a chance to do, right now, some people do hypnosis, or some people, go to the medium. They will tell you who you are in the past life. Okay, if you believe in what they say, and if you believe in your past life, and the problem is the man in my past life definitely have different body, right? That I don't know about right now. I even cannot remember it. And in Egypt. So that person in ancient time in the Egypt, he did something wrong. He killed people. That body killed people. And I have this body right now. And why I should bear the consequences? We have to explain. The on top of the karma and rebirth, on top of the causes and effects and karma theory, and we understand, the rebirth. But there is a things that we need to find out is that that man that I don't know, I didn't have memory with that body in ancient Egypt, done something wrong, and right now this body is taking the consequences. How to explain that? And the other is, can we change who we are? How to change and purify our karma? That's the next question when we're trying to find out, investigate the origin of life. This is another question that we need to explain. We need to find out, okay, that body and this body, what is the relationships between that body in the past life and the current body in this life? And how he hate that person, but I didn't hate that person. I didn't even know that person in the Egypt that I killed, that I killed. How does that work out, And okay, I take it, I accept it, but how can I change it? And this is what the practice is all about. This is what Buddha's teachings all about, is to purify our mind and to change our karma. if the karma cannot be changed, nobody can attain Buddhahood. It is because karma can be changed. It is because karma can be cleansed and purified. That's why Buddha taught us the following, more teachings, okay, that we will talk about in the next 4 talks. And so our goal still, even though we are trapped in a karma samsara cycle, rebirth, our goal is to liberate out of it. And not just us out of it, all of us out of it. So that's today's main topic that I briefly, quickly sum up. Again, Master Zongmi trying to use one question, what is the origin of life, as a core thinking to classify all Buddha's teaching at the different levels. And the first level, inherit and yet transcend the verdict for philosophical thinking of karma and rebirth. The karma can be changed, and the causes and conditions and consequences can be changed. And the rebirth is not predetermined. Everything can be changed. That is what the practice is all about. But even though out of samsaric cycle, we still cannot find the origin of life, because how we connected past life with this life, and can we cleanse the karma? Can we not be suffered anymore? How can we get liberated or enter into nirvana? That's the next step. Zongmi will share another class of Buddha's teaching that will answer this question. So step by step, Zongmi use this, try to go deeper and deeper, get into the center of Buddha's teachings, the origin of life. So I will stop here and take questions. Hello? So where Jasmine is?
Yeah, thank you for Fashi's wonderful talk today. Do anyone have any questions? It's the time to raise them. Fashi certainly raised a lot of intriguing questions. The most interesting one at the beginning is why I am who I am. I sometimes wonder why I am who I am. I also wonder why he is who he is. I hope by the end of the lectures, by the end of the series of these lectures, I would have a more clear idea. And it looks like we have quite a journey to go with many other interesting questions coming up. But it's our audience time to raise any questions for Fashi, if you have any. It looks like we're all intrigued. Fashi, so it looks like maybe we will leave some questions for the next lecture, or if you have any questions, you.
I see 3 hands.
Oh.
Did you see it? Jasmine, Simon and Jim Paul, and who else? Simon.
Well, this is Simon.
Okay.
I thank you for the talk. I don't know if I maybe missed it during your presentation, but is it possible at the end you said there's kind of hope, right? It's not, our destiny is not predetermined. But is it possible? It seems like there's probably a lot when I hear, you know, how we have to deal with our sort of karmic past. It seems like a lot of work, but in practicality, is it still possible to sort of make that leap from sort of where we are now to complete enlightenment, nirvana in our life, you know, today? Like, is that always a possibility? Just that we don't necessarily take that opportunity, but the potential is there. That's my question. Is the potential there despite our karmic pasts?
Okay. The answer is yes and no. Yes is definitely everyone has the potential to be liberated, to enter into the nirvana, and that's why in the current life, and that's why all the practitioners, all the masters, you know, practice so diligently and try very hard to tell us that we can make change. But then the no goes to that it still depends on the causes and conditions. That's also what the Buddha's teachings, the major part is how, you know, teach us how to repent, for example, and how to build up a good karmic affinity with people. Because, for example, yeah, you practice very hard, you meditate, or you experience something, but the problem is you have a really heavy karma. Heavy karma means very good or very bad with people. There is someone hate you so much, or there is someone love you so much. That is a force. That is a driving force to connect with you. And then you want to get out, but there is a strong force try to drag you down. You know, come back, I need you. Or come back, you have to pay your debt. Then if this power surpass your samadhi power or your practice power, then you lose, you come back again. But if you make a big vows and you practice very hard, your mind clings to certain level that this love and hatred, it's just like, you know, the magnet. If the magnet, you still have the positive and negative ends, and if you encounter a strong magnet, you immediately absorb each other, or you have a strong magnet and then you repulse each other. And that's not the middle way. The middle way is, what is that called? Demagnetize yourself. That the love and hatred does not cause any influence on you. And then on the other hand, you have a power to neutralize yourself, at the same time has the compassionate mind that you will come back to help them. And then at this point, that's where the Western Pure Land come in, that people can go to a better place with their karma and practice until they enter into a certain level, the so-called non-regression, and then come back to help all the people and to pay your debt without suffering. Okay, so I would say, of course, everyone has the potency, the potential to liberate. At the same time, we have to overcome the karmic force that imposed on us. I don't know. Did I answer your question?
Thank you, Fashi. Carl S. has a question as well. Carl, do you want to ask your questions directly to Fashi?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for this talk, Venerable. My question is if there are additional educational resources. I've enjoyed this talk and the previous one on the Master Juri. Whether there's more other courses or even just like recommendations and further reading.
For this, okay, you can check out for these topics. I recommend you check out the Professor Gregory's book. You can buy it from, and it's very well translated. Even though different scholar has different interpretation on Zongmi's sastras, there are some minor differences, even with Professor Gregory's and our masters in Chinese. Okay, but this book you will find many references because this is a PhD dissertation, so there are many references that you can check out in English. So I think this is a very good book to start with. And also Tian Tai's Zhiyi is also very good. And personally, I'm studying the what is that called? Mohe, the Maha Samatha Vipassana, and it also has a translation in English as well as 3 huge books. Mainly 2 books, and one is glossary of all those terms. And that 2 books explained, and also by a scholar. And so that means well references and well cited. And you can check from that book, you can check out many references you like to read for that topics. That Master Zhiyi's late age, the final complete book is the Maha Samatha Vipassana, or the calming and stilling the mind. And at the late age of Master Zongmi, he wrote this inquiry into the origin of humanity that conclude all his thinking about the Huayan school and Chan school. Sounds good.
Yes, thank you.
A lot of books to read.
Yeah, thank you.